Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Podcast 13, Season 2 of the Blue Collar Workers, Your Voice, Your Nation. I am, as always, John, Sean, or Yahya.
I'm Chris.
And as always, this is Your Voice, Your Nation. And we appreciate you coming back, all nearly 690 of you. We deeply appreciate the support and help and general commentation that we get. There will be another section. I intend to probably do around about 14 or 15 of the commentary, because we are starting to get some decent comments now. I like to build them in a block that makes them an entire section of this. For today, I've got my reaction to the Mirror, slurs on the human rights fanatic stemmer. Corbyn and Sultana clash over their new party membership. Thames Water is drowning in debt. And Tory MP and Shadow Minister Danny Kruger defects to reform. Over on Chris's side,
mainly a big one, but first off, to obviously discuss the fact of the death of Charlie Kirk and the effect it's having, and then leading straight into the fact of what ideology is doing to our latest generation and how it's affecting us all. Because the fact clearly, result of Charlie Kirk, him just debating stuff within college universities has prompted such a drastic event, and I think it's time to speak about what ideology is doing to our latest generation.
Absolutely. I mean, and let me be very, very clear here that me and Chris may ideologically disagree with Charlie Kirk because of his very ethno-Christian
Some I agree,
views.
some I don't.
No one should be shot for their ideas. No one should be murdered for their ideas. No matter how vile their ideas are, that is the very bedrock of liberal democracy.
His ideas weren't even vile, they just challenged the youth.
Did you hear how he spoke about how Palestinians?
Everyone has a weak spot.
Yeah, he has some very controversial opinions, especially about people who aren't Christian. You should look at it. You wouldn't be on his good list either, mate. Even though you're socially conservative, you're not religiously conservative.
Well, from the things I've seen, it was all about challenging stuff within an educational based system.
Yeah, of course. That was his thing. And I've got no great objection towards that. I'm saying the way he's outlining and intake of his Christian nationalism, and he was a Christian nationalist, he did not deserve to die. No one deserves to die for their ideology. And I think that's an important kind of boiler point for anyone in this conversation.
But the fact that obviously he died at the age of 31, being sniped at a college campus, it's absolutely disgusting. And I always thought universities, colleges, and places of education.
Oh, they're not tolerant. No, they're not tolerant for right-wing information.
I thought it was a place to challenge your ideology.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It should be. But because that was when we were kids.
Yeah.
It's not now. If you go against the woke and you go against the far left, who dominate many of these colleges, you're demonized, you're attacked, your communications cut off. I was at one point a big fan of Jordan Peterson. He's another controversial speaker. He's been to universities and challenged university students on their ideologies. And the protesters and the attacks, the slurs, completely baseless. A whole lot of them baseless. They won't attack the conversations he's having or the moral fibritical position he holds. They lack the conviction, the far left, not just the leftists, but the far left, lack the conviction to hold standing conversations about their ideology. Because once you start examining the far left's ideology and the very, very fringe parts of the far left, you realise it does not stand up to scrutiny.
But then, the place of education should always be able to challenge
absolutely
things, or at least turn around and admit the fact, okay, you have found a pothole within what I'm thinking. It's fair enough. I'll go back, look into it further and see what I could do to improve it. Obviously, that does incite other things, but...
Of course. No, absolutely. Let's start.
No person should ever die just based on
absolutely
viewpoint.
Not. No, completely not. Let's start with the Daily Mail's disgusting comments I read a couple of days ago. Human rights fanatic Stemmer is sunk by human rights lefty lawyers. PM Keir sees launch of one in, one out migrant flight grounded by court. Labour's one in, one out policy was plunged into chaos on Tuesday night as the High Court blocked ministers from sending a small boat migrant back to France. That was a temporary block that has already been lifted. The ruling, the first challenge to the policy to reach the court, is likely to pave the way for others at risk of deportation to bring in copycat claims. It could leave Labour's return deal in legal limbo for months. The dramatic court ruling came after attempts to deport other migrants aboard 2 flights from Heathrow Airport were blocked by separate last-minute legal actions. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philip, who predicted it in Monday's Daily Mail that Labour's scheme would face a slew of legal challenges, just like all of yours did, all of the Conservatives did, because we're part of the Human Rights Act. And I'm going to get quite extensively into why we remain part of the human rights and why Britain should be very careful of what Nigel Farage spouts about withdrawing from the Human Rights Act. Because it's fucking dangerous for you and your rights. The government's latest channel migrant gimmick is now a complete disarray, the Tory frontbencher said. This is garbage. This is absolute garbage. The case was somebody talking about modern slavery. The gentleman who came to the court and said, I've been literally chucked in chains, modern slavery, and I asked for justice. So the court stopped so it could listen to his claim, which by British fucking law, we're legally required to. Because anti-slavery laws were written by us in the 18th fucking century, you cunts. How brain dead do you have to be to realise that this isn't lefty loonies, this is human beings he's claiming, I believe the claim failed, but when you make a claim of, I've been part of modern slavery, you have to stop. Fuck the ERC, they weren't responsible for that. British law predates the Human Rights Act. British law was written to stop slavery. We wrote the fucking anti-slavery acts. The plan is clearly dead of Axios Human Rights, and modern slavery claims have ended it before it even started. The problem being is anti-slavery laws are British laws. We invented them. The anti-slavery era is a British Empire's one of its good things. Britain, let's hold a basis here. Anti-slavery laws are one of the few good things the British Empire did. Hunting down slavers, shutting down slave ports, cutting off trade from the slaving side of America during their civil war. These were things the British Empire did. Why is this so complicated for these readers to not comprehend? I mean, we wrote those laws. They're not ERC. They're not human rights laws. They're anti-slavery laws written by our judges hundreds of years ago. What, you want to stop anti-fucking slavery now?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Fucking brain hurts.
There you go. There's a little contemplating thought. Get rid of human rights laws so you can then turn around and start working on the anti-slavery laws.
Of course. I get the impression that's what fucking Farage wants to do. Anything to throw innocent human beings out of the country just because of the skin colour. That's Nigel Farage. That's his whole party's raison d'etre. His entire mission, throw brown people out of the country any means necessary. Tuesday's High Court case was brought by a Trayan migrant who arrived in Britain only 5 weeks ago. He claimed he was destituted if the Home Office sent him back to France, breaching his human rights. That's bollocks. It was anti-slavery reasoning. You see, this is why I have a problem with the Daily fucking Fail. Yeah? You lying bastards. The case was held by the human rights courting system whilst at the same time having anti-slavery capacity. The 25-year-old man who was granted anonymity by the court has been due to be placed aboard Air France flight to Paris at 9 a.m. today. His legal challenge argued that his deportation would risk multiple human rights breaches. The migrant told the Home Office that he and his mother travelled to Eritrea when he was a young child and that he was trafficked from there to Libya in 2023. So he has a human trafficking claim, which is a slavery action of which British law stands against. Ignore the ERG, you fucking dozy Daily fucking fails. Why are human rights important to you? So let's get on to this, shall we, Chris? Practical protection in everyday life. Rights to a fair trial. Protection from unlawful surveillance of our government's overreach. You know, the very things that the Labour government are trying to do right now to the hurrah of everybody in power. Safeguarding against torture, degradement, treatment and arbitrary detention rights to freedom of expression, religion and assembly. Rights to respect family life, i.e. preventing arbitrary separation to immigrant family cases. A backstop beyond the UK court system that is beholden to the UK Parliament, that does not act in the citizens' best interest and hasn't done for 200 fucking years. Parliament acts with what's corporately interest, not what your interest. When we fight them, they have our interest. You have to fight your government and Parliament to get them to do what's good for you.
On that point, very good example of this is the protests that happened in London. Was it last week?
Yeah.
The week? Yeah. How the media outlets tried literally to dull down how many people actually attended. Yet if you actually watch the aerial drone footage and everything else,
it's anywhere between 300,000 and a million people.
I was going to say literally on just by the aerial view, because they quoted 110,000 people attended.
No, it was more than that.
You could clearly tell.
It was between 300 and a million, I believe some statistics have been saying.
And they said up to roughly 1 million people attended that protest.
Yeah, of course.
That's 1 million Britons attended that in London. Yeah, and they're trying to dull it down by 1/10 of what actually was there, roughly.
But then the police always underestimate, and the Rangers, like Tommy Robinson said, he was like 3 million people. There wasn't 3 million. There was nowhere near the level of, because it took them weeks to clean up. You remember the Iraq protests?
Yeah.
7 million Britons hammered into the capital. Took them 3 weeks to clean it up. So we're not with Iraq level, okay? It was between 300,000, double what the fucking BBC was saying, and 1 million. Somewhere in that month. And it's a massive amount. That's 1/70th of our entire country's population.
That's enough to make the government go, oh shit.
Yes, of course.
And they're trying to dull it down.
Absolutely. And though I don't agree with what Tommy Robinson and some of these people were saying, there were legitimate protesters amongst that. You have to acknowledge that we have concrete problems with migration and lawful migration because of the lack of infrastructure that's not been done since the 50s. As me and Chris have regularly said, you fix the tax system, you then have the money to start fixing the country. 110,000 fucking pages of tax. I know we go on about it, but it is the genuine reality. The tax, the infrastructure, the housing, the green belt, these are all tied in together. It's not just the migrants, okay? We still live in an area of 8% of our nation with about 50 million people's worth of infrastructure. You get rid of all the brown people, you're still fucking sinking for infrastructure. There aren't enough houses for the white people. Let's be fucking racist. Let's be mildly racist for a moment, Chris. There is not enough housing, schools, facilities for the white population of Britain. There isn't. You're delusional if you think otherwise. We're only starting to come into our birth decline here in the 2020s and the 2000s. 2000 to 2020, we've been in birth decline. Before that, we were in replacement numbers. 2, 2.1, 1.9. That was the area we were in. From 1980 to 2000, we were having a steady population. So that steady population has not had a mass die-off. Yeah, COVID did not kill hundreds of thousands of people. Killed tens of thousands. That's a fucking lot. But most of them were very old in care homes.
So it was more due to people that already had issues.
Yeah, they had underlying issues as well. But what I'm trying to get at, Britain, is you have a massive now birth decline that has come in. So we now have a migrant issue of legal migration. The illegal migration is not our problem. And this is another thing of the deflection. Oh, more illegal migrants. We've had less than 300,000 over the last 25 fucking years. 300,000, I think it was 20 years, might be only a decade. We have had very few illegal migrants compared to the lawful migrants. The lawful migrants are being brought in because we don't have a birth rate. We don't have a birth rate because we have too much tax system. The burden of society is resting on you and me. And that is a serious problem. And that is a problem that no one in Parliament wants to address.
And it's literally already been proven by time and age. If the public have money to spend, they have money to grow a family, therefore the birth rate does not decline. You tax them within an inch of their lives, the population drops off.
Exactly. And why are you taxing people within an inch of their life? Because you don't want to tax the corporations that are paying your fucking wages, paying your extra money. That is why. We have to start really talking about this, Britain. You want to repair the population? Cool. We're white men. We don't have a problem with that. We have a problem with where you're blaming the people.
I have a problem not having enough money in my bloody pocket to do anything, so.
And we're both full-time workers. Yeah? In pretty good trades. I'm close to 30. He's just a little over 30. It is hard fucking work, even out in the countryside.
Close to 30? What do you mean close to 30? You're close to almost 50, dude.
I'm not there. No.
Than me.
30. My regular's 36, but we're not counting.
You mean the wages?
Wages.
That age.
No, you fucking. I'm nowhere near 50, you cunt. Fucking cheeky bastard. I'm talking wage.
I am on 30. What you on?
Yeah, like I said, I thought you were more on 36 or something in that region.
Oh, I freaking wish.
I'm approaching 30. I thought you were in your 36s, but if you're only in 30, and we live in the countryside, so yes, our costs are less than major cities, but even we're struggling. And I'm working every fucking hour under the sun practically. But the practicality of what Nigel Farage wants to do with your human rights should abjectly fucking terrify you. Because if he gets rid of all that, you're now relying on a court system that is sworn to British Parliament. That should scare you.
Put me in charge.
Yeah. Now the pretty boy's job is to run the money.
I'll do that.
The Rottweiler is here to tell people to fuck off.
So I reckon you'd be good as home secretary.
Jesus Christ. Why are you here? For slavery. You better prove that.
We need a front boy to be prime minister.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Nicky, he's the pretty boy. Okay, hell, we hit all the markers there, don't you?
We want to get left on your side. Won't like you after that.
Moving on, after my rant with the Daily Fail, Corbyn and Sultana clash over new party membership. The ex-Labour MP, Zara Sultana, has accused Jeremy Corbyn of overseeing a sexist boys' club, locking women out of the founding of the new Labour left-wing party the pair announced earlier this year. Sultana said she has been sidelined by other members of the party's working group, despite an agreement which she and Corbyn would jointly authorise key steps. Early on Thursday, your party supporters have received an email offering £55 memberships, which Corbyn later dismissed as unauthorised, saying he was seeking legal advice. Your party has referred the matter to the Information Commission's office. Sultana said she had launched the membership website in line with the roadmap set out by the party officials. Before her statement, Sultana had been posting on social media throughout the morning, encouraging people to sign up for the £55 full membership. Sultana has claimed more than 20,000 people had signed up, meaning the new party could have raised more than $1 million in a single morning. In her statement, she said, "My sole motivation has been to safeguard the grassroots involvement that is essential to building this party. Unfortunately, I have been subject to what can only be described as a sexist boys' club. I have been treated appallingly and excluded completely. They have refused to allow any other woman with voting rights on the working group, blocking the gender balance committee that both Jeremy and I signed up to." Before Sultana's comments, Corbyn put out a conflicting statement signed by Ayon Khan, Adnan Hussain, Ibn Mohammed and Shokat Adam, members of the Independent Alliance of MPs, who are founding the new party. Sultana's names was conspicuously missing from the list. The message to supporters on Thursday morning claimed an unauthorised email had been sent promoting a membership portal under a new domain name. He urged backers to ignore the message and cancel any direct debits that had been set up. Sultana defended her decisions to set up the membership portal, insisting it was in line with the roadmap set out to members on Monday and is safely secured legitimate portal for the party. She claimed she had set up the site, allowing supporters to continue to engage and organise, and that members' funding were held by the company set up by the party to safeguard monetary until November's founding conference. I see a punch up in paradise. This was always going to happen. Jeremy Corbyn acts like he's some kind of elangantarian, but quite often he's not. And I've always had suspicions that he was like that. And as the far left, the fact that they've come to this blows before they've even had their official launch does not speak well for their party cohesion. She's called on Corbyn to publish the party structure, arguing only transparency would restore hope for our members and ensure nothing like this can ever happen again. This party is bigger than any one person, she said, and we owe it to the movement to uphold its democratic and socialistic foundings. I suspect that she's been pushed out because she's a bit too feminist, too feministic and far right wing, left wing. And many of the members want a socialist, not a feminist kind of. She's almost a communist. I don't think she is, but I think she's close to them, definitely. In many ways, I suspect this punch-up was always due to happen. And I think it's quite important that Britain pays attention that this far-left group are already imploding before they've come to their conference. This does not fill me with confidence that they have the ability to lead an opposition to Nigel Farage. Thoughts?
It's just going to go down a fucking pan by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Guardian journalist Owen Jones, who has championed the new party, warned that if the split drags on, people will switch off and just bet everything on the Greens. I don't think that's a bad thing, because the Green current leader is actually coherent. They've got a party set up. They're kind of paying attention to what's going on. They've got a pretty slick slogan. For the left, the Greens probably are your best option. For the centrists, don't abandon the Liberal Democrats. The Tories are fucking dead. Let's call it what it is. The Tories are dead. The amount of people who are jumping ship from the Tory is dying horrifically. Have you not seen the amount of resignations and party jumpers that have been going on in the Tory recently?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye, and
I genuinely think that the Tory party is in terminal decline. I think it is entirely plausible. I've got a piece that I've got here for the Tory Minister of Shadow, but we're going to move over to Chris's conversation about Charlie Kirk, and let's get on with that, because I think it's a big, meaty subject. We should jump that one now.
Well, it's going to lead into the effective ideology, but I think start off on Charlie Kirk's quite good.
Yeah.
Obviously, as everyone knows, because it's been plastered everywhere over social media and news and everything else, fortunately, Charlie Kirk has been assassinated / killed on a campus in Utah by a sniper whilst he was doing one of his debates. I'm going to call it debates because that's basically what it is.
It
on
is.
college campus, obviously, to challenge, obviously, the younger generation on, obviously, their education and everything else.
And their ideology.
And their ideology. Especially their ideology, because, in fact, obviously, university and college, school, educational systems is meant to challenge you on every aspect, to teach you, to give you a little bump start into the reality of the real world, which I'm afraid some of you, if you think it's the pinnacle of existence being a school and college and all that lot, you are going to have one massive wake-up call when you enter real life.
Welcome to the workforce.
Yeah. And it's going to be a massive shock for you, unfortunately. And I think that's going to, I'll stem on that when I get into the fact of the effect it's having on the educational system ideology. But it's just absolutely disgusting. And literally the fact that even now, it hasn't even been a week, and by the looks of it, they're trying to, here in the UK, quell posts about Charlie Kirk assassination online. Because there was that article on the BBC News, which is now gone.
I just think that it does open a very important conversation. I don't agree with a huge section of what Kirk said, but at no point would I want that man dead. At no point. I would like to have had an opportunity, which I can't now, alhamdulillah, to have sat down and had a conversation with such a man. But the reality is that his ideology, his neo-Christian, it is a borderline fascism. Because of some of the ideology, he doesn't believe that certain people have a right to religious freedom. He thinks religious freedom should be only different variations of Christianity. And Judaism sprinkled in.
Yeah. Well, obviously, as I said, everyone has their own faults and whatnot, but literally, the fact that all he was doing was challenging the youth. Despite
he was doing other things as well, but challenging the youth was his main bread and butter.
I'm going to say, the main thing that was publicised online is the fact that he was challenging the youth to obviously think, which, to be quite honest, should be done in school anyway, regardless whether it's from a person just generally coming up and have a conversation and trying to challenge, make you think about your origin, not challenge it, think about it. Bear in mind, that's from what I've seen. I know there are some parts out there which probably would stem to the fact that he did make you think otherwise, because it always is. But whether there's proof behind it is another thing. But why is the man killed just by challenging your ideology?
Yeah, no, it's, and there is some disgusting comments that have been on social media recently about how he previously said having a few gun deaths is the price of having freedom of weaponry. That should be not non-starter. No one is ever saying, "Oh yeah, shoot me." I'm calling for them to be shot. No, of course not. What he's saying is that the freedom to express themselves as Americans via their constitution, to have the right to bear arms, is an unfortunate side effect that leads towards a few gun deaths, is what he's genuinely saying.
I'm sorry, but is people not thinking? Because literally, if you want the right to hold arms,
there are going to be some mad people that happen in the world.
It's naturally going to correspond with human death. Is that just me just using my common sense, or is that something that's lacking these days?
I just think some people really do need to acknowledge that society has taken a shift towards populism away from the centre because of a reaction of the far left, feminist Me Too movements. These are all knock-on effects. You have had your left swing, and we are now swinging back to the right. And I would like to catch that fucking pendulum and keep it in the middle. So we have the rights on the left, the rights of freedom on the right, and not some insanity on either side's far extreme, because that's where we're going. From us, it's a reform thing. You know, people like of those million people that went to that rally that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah,
a lot of them would probably consider voting for Nigel Farage, and that should scare people.
Well, yeah, because they're fed up of what's going on. So
no, of course, and I'm not saying that the current two leading parties have a fucking hopes in hell. I hope both of them are wiped out. I hope the Greens make an enormous income.
I think it's about time the Lib Dems actually.
Lib Dems need to step up now. Our party needs to step the fuck forward. It needs to rise like a phoenix, just to keep the fucking balance
in the right way to
absolutely
into flourish growth, not burn it to fucking ashes.
And people like Nick Clegg, that horrible, horrible psychopath, who decided to share power with David Cameron and burn his own fucking support network, is the reason we've lagged so much for so long.
But yeah,
no, he should not have been assassinated,
yeah.
And it is influencing cultural trends, and it is rising of populism because of his death. And there are going to be some nasty populists that are going to come out of the woodwork.
And yeah, they're trying to tag this and everything else on him already.
Oh, yeah.
After his death.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's disgusting. The right-wing press are going on about it. Everyone is.
I'm going to say, and literally, I even found just a little article that was released 6 hours ago. Fact of Arnold Schwarzenegger sharing his honest view on why Charlie Kirk was killed.
Oh, let's hear. What's he say?
Arnold Schwarzenegger has been praised for his eloquence after sharing an impassionate speech in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. The Hollywood star and former Republican politician told students...
Stop. As a Republican, he's a very centralistic Republican. Yeah. He's actually an environmentalist.
He's more grounded than
he is. He's an environmentalist.
She told students at the University of Southern California he was very upset that someone's life was taken because they had a different opinion.
There's no justification towards that.
Is attribution to the blame of Charlie Kirk suspected to have been committed by Tyler Robertson. They're still investigating that, as far as I'm aware. To division caused by social media companies, mainstream media, and both Democratic and Republican politicians. We're getting hit from so many different angles, and we have to be very careful that we don't get any closer to the cliff, because when you fall down that cliff, there is no democracy, he said. He called upon students with different political beliefs to unite and start communicating to show the world how people power can make a difference. Imagine you get together and start having communications together, that you'll be an example of the rest of the nation for all universities, how you get together, how to do it, how you do not see the other side as an enemy, or to fight fire with fire, or to declare war on each other, he said. Schwarzenegger, the people power is the ultimate power. That's why democracy is all about. That's what democracy is all about. Not politician power; it's people power.
Absolutely. And again, the governor is definitely onto one, definitely, because the man is making it very, very clear. You can absolutely disagree with each other. Me and Chris disagree on fucking huge amounts of politics. We still ride or die. You know, I'd still take a bullet for the cunt, and he's still screaming that the reason we're probably getting shot at.
Not probably are. Yeah.
He's a bit too risk averse to me. It's like, wow, Chris, they look dangerous. Let's go up and insult them. No. But
I'm more the tactical approach. You're the one that's just insane, and we'll go start it anyway.
I don't insane is such a dirty one. I like eccentric.
Both mean the same thing.
But sufficient to say, you shouldn't kill people for having a different political view. And that should be a boiler point.
I reckon it is key to have someone with an opposite opinion to you.
Absolutely.
Because the fact
it allows you to grow as human beings. It allows you to think.
It then gives you a chance to put a light on yourself within those iffy areas of your ideology and everything else, and to actually see what's going on. It may sometimes change your fact, or you may double down, or you may tweak it slightly to then address the issue. Everybody has a different reaction to dark spots within their consciousness, thought process, and ideology. God, I'm getting rather philosophical there. No, because we're on it with Charlie Kirk's death and what Arnold Schwarzenegger has brung up, that it's people power, not political power, brings me into one of the points of how ideology is having an effect on us, and that is within politics.
Definitely.
Because in fact, I'm not going to lie, I do find the fact that politics is
being reactionary lately.
Is massively influenced by ideology at the moment. Just think about everything that's going on with obviously the far left trying to push their own views upon transgender rights and all that, and how we've had to slap them back in place. I'm sorry, but it is true. Especially when it comes to the fact of what is a woman. That was just stupidity. I know that's going to get a load of hate comments.
To be quite fair about this, the ideology politics is something that really needs to leave politics in general. I think that running a country should not be beholden to the unnecessary whims of populism. Whether it's far left populism or far right populism, it should not be to the whims of either of them. Because you're trying to hold and nurture a nation of millions of human beings.
And having far too extreme ideologies within politics.
Either of them, on either end of them.
I'm going to say on any spectrum. It's extremely detrimental. We have seen a glimpse of what it can be like.
Just watching what's going on in America.
Just watching what's going on in America, and with the stupidity of literally having a Supreme Court ruling of what a woman is, when we all know what a woman is. It's biology, it's science. I'm sorry, I know I'm using it. I'm using it as a continual example, but it's the latest example, so we can all relate to it. Having that being forced into the political circle is just absolute stupid. And I don't know why people think they can force that upon the rest of the world.
Here's a challenge for the people who actually watch our videos to the full extent. What is a woman? Give us your thoughts on what is a woman. My boy here wants to know your opinions. If you've got a real opinion on what a woman is.
I was going to say, there's only one logical answer, and I'm sorry to all the ones that will get irate about it. A woman is a childbearing human being. Yeah, the ability to give birth. Yeah. No, not as people that go, oh, what about conception and everything else? Conception is different. Woman gives birth to the child. Yeah, that is a woman. Yeah. If you can't give birth to a child, you're not a woman.
In Chris's opinion.
In biological fucking fact.
For legal reasons, in Chris's opinion.
It already has been given for legal reasons within the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So screw you!
We get sued, you're paying for it.
We get sued, it shows how broken the system is.
In Chris's opinion, I'm going to try and save the other half of the podcast.
love the way the fact you say opinion's been proven biologically.
No, it has. It has. It has. In support of the Supreme Court, Chris holds the opinion of the British Supreme Court that a biological woman is a birthing human being. That should pretty much resolve that position.
I'd love to know what everyone else's description of a woman would be.
That's why I said it. That's why I said it in the comment section. Give us your opinion on what a biological woman is.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how far one way, how far the other people think.
And Chris takes from what the Supreme Court said, which, that's fair. That's a fair point.
Which is based upon biologically and science.
Indeed. Indeed it does. But I find that getting back to your point on how ideology has massively influenced British society,
British politics, especially
British politics at the moment, because of the outrageous level of populism and lying that comes on from the Reform Party. The Reform Party are by far the greatest liars, verbal thieves, detractors of society that I have seen in modern politics. And this ties in quite nicely with the Tory MP and Shadow Minister Danny Kruger's defection to reform. The Conservative MP Danny Kruger has become the first sitting Conservative MP to defect to Reform UK. Kruger has been an MP since 2019 and sat on the Tory leader Kerry Bennock's team as a Shadow Works and Pensions Minister. The Conservatives are over, he told a press conference, sitting alongside Reform Party leader Nigel Farage. Kruger said he had been honoured to be asked to help Reform prepare for the government and said he hoped that Farage would be the next Prime Minister. This is my problem. Why would you want a man who has prolifically lied to the British people time and time and time again to become a Prime Minister? This tells me that this MP is desperate. Well, then, this does come back to the fact that he was a Boris Johnson's, really close ally.
Could it be the fact that he's trying to initiate change to...
It's not going to happen. If my country votes for reform, we are in deep fucking trouble.
I say, just a thought off the top of my head, purely just straight off the top. He could have defected to reform in order to incite the current way, in order to then incite the opposition to then squash it.
That's the theory. That would sacrifice his career.
Well, it's in the best interest of the population.
I don't believe that Daniel is the kind of person.
But then that's me thinking...
Danny Kruger does not seem to be the person.
I'm going to say that's me based on the fact that someone's actually caring about the population, not his own fucking pocket.
That's the problem. When you look at his track record, I wouldn't necessarily agree with your...
That's just a straight thought off the top of my head. Is he joining the enemy to incite the other side to squish it? That's just a straight off thought off the top of my head. I know it's completely far out there, but it's just like, that could be a possibility, but then you apply logic to that thought, and you're like, no, he's after a fucking big paycheck.
He is. The East Wiltshire MP, who has said that he would not be triggering a by-election, said the Conservatives were no longer the main party of opposition. He said, there have been moments when I have been very proud to belong to the Tory party, but added, the rule of our time is often was failure. Bigger government, social decline, low wages, high taxes, and less of what the ordinary people actually want. You wouldn't know what the ordinary people want if a fucking kipper-wielding fucking fisherman ran up and smacked you in the face with it, mate. Because you have no idea. You're an Eton educated motherfucker who has never had a real world job in your entire life.
I'm going to say, what he just said there is the exact reason why everything's going to shit. Within that one sentence, higher taxes.
Lower wages.
Done
by the Conservative Party. 14 years ago.
By the very party you're trying to escape from. Oh my God.
Bigger government, social decline, lower wages, high taxes, and less what the ordinary people want. The last part, you wouldn't have a clue about. The rest of it is your part of your fault.
You caused it.
You fucking caused it. Why do you want him reform? He added, this is my tragic conclusion. The Conservative Party is over. Over as a national party, over as a principal opposition to the
abandon the sinking ship to join another one.
He said he had great regard for Bennock. He said the Tory party had a toxic brand, adding we have had a year of status and drift and a shame unity that comes from not doing anything bold or difficult or controversial. Describing his move leaving a party he had been a member for 20 years as personally painful. He said his mission with reform would be not just to overthrow the current system, it is to restore the system we needed. Responding to the news of the defection, Bennock said, Danny has made his case very clear. That's not about me. I can't be distracted by that and I'm not going to get blown over course by these sort of incidences. I know this is the sort of thing that is going to happen whilst the party is changing. I'm making sure people understand what conservative values are. Kirker's defection is damaging for Bennock, not only as a Tory thinker and veteran, but also as the most significant among several from the parties moving to reform. They were all Boris Johnson cheerers of the destruction of the human rights. They are the conservative far right. Their loss is not a loss. Let's get this right. They were the people who want you all in work for even less wages. The man who's complaining about this, he was part of the people voting for it, the lower wages. The rising taxes. He voted for this all through the 14 years. Out of the 20 years he's been an MP, 14 of them, we've had a Tory government. Should tell you absolutely everything you need to know about the man.
He's abandoning a sinking ship to try and get another one on the same.
Of course. Speaking after the press conference, Kirk told the BBC he had come to the conclusion. I've done that. Asked about his comments, Kirk said, I think we're all sober sailors now. I'm glad to say, because since I said that Reform have corrected their position on welfare spending. Reform has no idea what it would do in financials. It gives pie in the sky. Remember, it's made promises to the farmers. It's promised you 325 million that me and Chris have joked about on the battle bus a week. Where's my 325 million, Nigel? There's the fucking lies that come out of the Reform leader's mouth are astronomical, Britain. And we need to remember that. They are absolutely astronomical. His previous jobs included serving as former Cabinet Prime Minister David Cameron's speechwriter, pens a huge hoodie speech, and as a former political secretary to Boris Johnson when he was Prime Minister. Boris Johnson's been one of the worst Prime Ministers we've had in memorable fucking history. I put that man alongside Neville Chamberlain. And if many of you kids don't know who Neville Chamberlain, look him up. He practically gave Hitler fucking parts of Czechoslovakia, peace in our time, waving a piece of paper. And then, we had the Second World War. So Boris Johnson's the worst peacetime Prime Minister we've ever had, in my humble opinion. Absolutely fucking disastrous.
Bumbling Boris.
Just complete fucking shit show. And this man thinks that riding home that he was the personal secretary to Boris Johnson is a good thing? Like, what? Reform are basically the Tory nasty. Remember that, Britain. Reform are recruiting Tory nasties who are lost because they don't have power and they want to follow a populist and think that's going to save them their jobs. Fucking joke. What's your opinion on him, what I've read, Chris?
Well, he's clearly jumping ship because of the fact that, as you said, he realised his job's on the line, so he's trying to go to a side which he thinks he can sway back into power so he can get his power back.
A Labour Party spokesperson said Nigel Farage can recruit as many failed Tories as he like. It won't change the fact that he has no plan for Britain. And he doesn't. This is a very... You please point to a policy that Nigel Farage has that doesn't involve migration. Because that's all Nigel Farage has ever been.
I don't even think he has a fucking policy on migration, to be honest. He's just spied to what he wants to do.
But he has a thing about migration, and that's it. He has always been a one-trick pony. That is Nigel Farage.
If you can actually find his political policies, I'll be fucking shocked to start off with. Because even I've looked for him and it doesn't come up.
It wouldn't have any money. It would... Remember, he's made promises to everyone. Fishermen, farmers, homeless, poor people. He's made promises everywhere. There's
only one way you're going to fulfill the promises to all of them. And as he said earlier on, and we've gone on so many times,
fix the fucking tax system.
It's the only way you're going to uphold all your promises, Nigel Farage. I'm sorry, you're not going to implement in your tax system because you're going to be like, I want more money.
Liberal Democrat Deputy Leader Daisy Cooper labelled the Conservative Party a shell of its former self and said Bennock had pushed lifelong Tories towards her party in their droves. A man who used to vote Conservative is stood there. I put my hand up. I used to vote because you did too, didn't you? Back in the day when they were a sensible party that dealt with money problems, yeah? I'm a Liberal Democrat now because of that very fucking point. They are Nazis in fucking people clothing. They're closet nationalists these days. And the British people who vote for the closet nationalists are not going to vote for the Conservatives when they've got Nigel Farage, the dark, evil, reformist, riding populist. Huzzah! Throw out all the brown people.
With no policies in place.
With no policies in place. His government won't last 6 months. It'll collapse. Britain, don't do yourself a harm.
Will
like
last
that.
6 weeks. What you want?
Fucking nightmare. There is getting a point now where the only difference between them is just the slightest lighter shade of blue. And it's not blue. It's the blood of innocent people who are going to be thrown out of this country in their millions. The amount of racism that has spiked across the UK right now is astro-fucking-nomical. Not just because of this march, because people like Tommy Robinson and his ilk and the football firms feel empowered by rhetoric that Nigel Farage gives, that then is echoed by people like Bennock and the Conservatives and is whispered about by the Labour Party. All of them are off their fucking trains. We should not be chasing populism, categorically.
It's a form of ideology.
It's a form of ideology. Anyway, let's go with your take on the second point, my boy.
Oh, this one's a juicy one. I know this is going to spark him off. The effect ideology has within religion.
Yeah.
This one, well, literally, if it doesn't provoke a reaction, I don't know what will. Yeah. Because I've got a very bold statement to start off with. Name one religious war which wasn't based on ideology.
All of them.
How? Ideology is fact of...
Stop. No. All religious wars, mine as Muslims and Christians, was about land, money, and power.
Sure about that?
Absolutely. History proves that these days. That's one of the point of values. The ideology is used to whip up the people. What has happened during every religious war? Land has changed, trade has changed, commerce has changed. The recovery of Jerusalem back and forward was very rarely to do with actual faith. That was a byproduct. The biggest financial earners were the trade that was coming in and out of the Middle East. Jerusalem was the fighting point that drew the soldiers that allowed the merchants to set up the businesses, both from Christian lands and Muslim lands. Almost every Judo-Christian Muslim war, that's called the Abrahamic Wars, throughout the last 1400 years, backwards and forwards on all sides, is about land, money, and power. The people, because we have moments where there were Christian kings of Jerusalem who would allow all pilgrims in. Saladin was a perfect example of allowing pilgrims from Christians, Muslims, and Jews to move around and completely shut down the arguments about how pilgrimage was being used. And there were crusades that came and attacked him anyway, even though he gave freedom of people to move religiously. So the argument of ideology does not hold basis, historically speaking, Chris.
Historically speaking. But what about of late?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, completely. Because the resource war argument it has not hold bearing. But there is still movement of resource, but it's not to the same level as religious problems. Absolutely. There is a demented fanaticism on my side of the Salaf. I'm not even going to sugarcoat this.
It's a demented side on every religion.
Mine's having its moment.
Yours is currently in the spotlight.
Yeah, mine's having its moment. The Salaf are wanting to resist any form of Western or social reform that society wants. I don't call them reforms. I call them returning to what we are. Because the way our Prophet, peace and blessings upon him, treated his wives and daughters is not the way that the Salaf treat their wives and daughters today.
All right, let me rephrase the question. What latest war is not based upon ideology? Ideological
warfare has become a major thing in the 21st century.
I'm sorry, massive example of a war based on ideology, Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. The Israeli conflict right now is based upon ideology.
I would say part of Russia going into Ukraine is based on ideology as well.
Yeah, because Russia feels threatened by Western approach. Yeah, no, there is a genuine fear by the Russian people.
So two of the main wars at the moment, because obviously back in historical things, obviously probably was ideology.
But there was ideological position to get the people moving, but the bulk of the reason behind it was to trade route for money, for land, and for power.
Hence the reason why I rephrased it to latest wars.
Yeah, the latest wars, there is no financial gain until after the expulsion of the Palestinians, which is what the Jewish state wants to do. And it's gone rogue in that regard. The world knows it's gone rogue. America can't control it, and I don't even think Donald Trump wants to.
I don't think Donald Trump even wants to get involved.
He's involved whether he likes it or not because he keeps supplying them. He can't avoid it in that regard.
But the latest two wars proves that if ideology is taken too far, it causes harm to others.
Yeah.
On a massive scale. Because obviously we're going to the extreme of war. But then think of how many people, because at the moment, I really do believe ideology is taking far too much effect on every aspect of our circle.
Of our society.
Yeah. And religion, at the moment, is playing a very key role.
There is some religious points to around most of the conflicts that we have in the Middle East, definitely. Because Jerusalem is one of the most important cities in the Abrahamic world. I would say, even though Mecca is the center of the Muslim world, Jerusalem is critical to Jews, Christians, and Muslims.
I'll just say my understanding.
Because relatively speaking, all of us share a lot of profits. If you would look at it from an atheist, from a neutral point of view, if you were to look at it, you'd say, where do all the profits of your group of religions come from? Jerusalem would be the most important one.
I say literally everything that I've looked at regarding, obviously, religion, they all stem from one place, which is Jerusalem.
And Jerusalem is unquestionably the key sentimental battleground of Christian Judaic conflict against the Muslim world.
But this is the ironic thing about religion. They all stem from one place. They all preach tolerance and everything else. Yeah. Yet contradict each other
absolutely
all the time and cause massive arguments.
Let me be very clear about the message that David against David and Goliath, who was Jew. Moses would have been of the ethnic Jews. We Muslims believe that they prayed like Muslims, but regardless of that, if from you they were ethical Jews. They all preach the same thing: one God, love each other, support your community, protect your society.
That's one thing I've noticed in every single religion is we're all one, support each other, love each other. And peace across the world.
Absolutely.
Yet, the only thing that
can't fucking do it.
The only thing that seems to be happening is destruction, war.
My grandfather, I want to mention this. My grandfather, who was a Catholic man, said God was having a joke when he gave us the 10 Commandments. We could barely do one. We can barely do one. That was my grandfather said that to me when I was a child. God gave us the 10 Commandments. We can barely do one of them.
But the fact that the ideology parts of religion is taking so much precedent these days and seems to be overriding common sense and critical thinking at the moment is absolutely insane. For everything that I understand of religion, it's based upon faith and also logic and understanding across all.
Let's take one of these ones, Chris. You shall not kill.
Fucked on that already.
That's one we failed. We as the human race have failed. You shall not commit adultery. We humans have fucked that. You shall not steal. Yeah, we're stealing from each other all the time as countries. You shall not have any god before me. Some of us managed to make that work. You shall not make any idols to worship. A lot of Western society fails that.
Hang on. Sorry. Shall not make idols to worship. What's God if not an idol?
The God isn't an idol. Idol as in something physical. In the physical realm. That's how it's described as. So you shouldn't be worshipping TikTok dancers and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Who the fuck's worshipping TikTok dancers?
Do you know, I'm just giving you an example. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honour your father and mother. How many people in Britain today honour their mother and father? Do you know what I'm saying, Chris? Just one of the 10 Commandments, my grandfather said, we as human beings fail.
Hang on, honour your father and mother. I would say that's a core value, let alone anything religious.
But it is part of the original Abrahamic faith. The faiths in general. Muslims tell you honour your mother and father. Jews do. Christians do. almost all of us say. Like the Ten Commandments are almost unquestionable when it comes towards Muslims, Jews, and Christians.
Yeah, Ten Commandments, if you look at them, and obviously you've seen them now, they fit into every single religion.
Yeah, I wouldn't say every. No. They wouldn't fit into the into the Viking religions. They were incredibly bloodthirsty. Odin's religions. You've got a Hollywood view of that, mate. I promise you. You'd read that.
Hang on. So we'll be able to be adapted into most religions.
Most religions, yeah.
Or at least key parts of it. There'll be parts where you can literally link it to every single religion. Yeah.
Odin's religions believed in live sacrifices, Chris. I promise you, they were not a good example of these kind of commandments.
I like the way the fact you get how you can get into a Valhalla
through bloody conquest and battle,
or the other way.
I mean, thou shalt not commit adultery. Let's take that as a basic of the Ten Commandments. Britons do that all the time now. That's a standard fucking thing of society. You have hookup culture, and then you have apps where you're helped to cheat.
That's that one. I'm sorry, I would call that's an unrealistic goal.
No,
because obviously to not commit adultery, because of the fact if we're based upon obviously being animals and mammals.
Says who? You see, this is the point.
Yeah,
there's no proof.
And then obviously I'm bringing the science side into this slightly. Yeah,
the claims of science.
Yeah, the claims of science. The fact that obviously we've evolved over the time from a base primitive species, and based on every other animal that's on the earth, because of the fact that we are all animals to a degree.
You can call yourself an animal.
Yeah. That's you've actually just proved a very good point for me, because of the fact we've developed in a conscious mind based upon our.
We've had conscious minds for nearly 90,000 years if we go by science.
Hang on. Humans have developed a conscious mind through our evolution and everything else, even base evolution, base primitive species. Yeah, who says that all the animals don't have a conscious, but we just don't understand them? I'm making you think now.
How long has humans been aware? 1.8 million years.
That's what I mean.
That's what science thinks.
Yes. Going by the side, we've evolved consciousness. Yeah, but we've evolved our version of consciousness,
or up to 200,000 years from Homo sapiens.
No, that's it. Going from our perspective, obviously, we are the most dominant species on the planet. We've evolved consciousness. Who's saying other species haven't? And we just don't know about it.
I don't. There is no direct evidence of conscious awareness of most animals outside of the ape kingdom.
Yeah, but
to use your example.
But obviously we've developed consciousness, but we're still based upon animal biology, which means to remain faithful is going against our biology, because our biology is to breed and propagate and expand our human race, which we have done to great success, by the way, so far.
Well, we're not.
Yeah.
Fucking not.
No, hence the reason why I've said
human civilization is in deep fucking trouble because of the population.
I said so far until the recent
100
years. Yeah, we've managed to do it successfully, and I think we developed a point where if we don't adjust our way of thinking and slap those stupid idiots in line, we're going to go flat straight off the earth.
Yeah, we will never reach 10 billion. That is something that scientists and people who count populations and that lot, anthropologists, say we will not reach 10 billion because the world is suffering a birth decline because of the taxation system.
Even if we had the birthing rate, I reckon we'd just collapse anyway. That's just my thought if we reach 10 billion, because we haven't got the infrastructure to maintain it.
We have. We absolutely do.
We do?
Yeah, no. China has built 39 new cities in the last century. Is it 39 or something? Huge amount. But I promise you, humanity, because most of humanity is in Asia, so most of our birth rate would be in Asia, considering how the billions we have in Asia.
I'm surprised though.
We have the infrastructure for 10 billion. We absolutely do. Do we have the infrastructure in the West? No, we don't. No one's good. That's the important factor. We don't in the West.
Do we have the world infrastructure for 10 billion?
Absolutely do.
Yeah.
Africa's building cities right now.
That also feeds it, because I don't reckon we have. I reckon we have it on paper, but practically, I reckon we don't. That's my thought on it. You got another point? Because obviously we've.
Have we? Jesus, I do have some other points, but what time is it?
Fine, too.
Oh, cripes. I think we will probably leave that as. I did have something I wanted to say about Thames Water's drowning in debt, but I will leave that for our next podcast.
I was going to say we'll just have 5 minutes more just to literally discuss the educational fact of ideology, because that's what sparked it, due to obviously Charlie Kirk's death.
Go for it.
Yeah, and then I'm basing this purely off the fact of how he come to pass. Because in fact, all he did was challenge the youth on their way of thought, which is, as far as I'm aware, when I went to school, is what was challenged when you was in your learning stage.
Okay.
Yeah, on any stage, because obviously I know some people go to school at different ages. Which I'm like, why is ideology have an effect on our educational system?
It was, to get back to the population thing, it was estimated in the 1960s and 80s that we'd reach 10 billion.
Yeah.
New factors have said the low birth peaking rate means we will never reach more than 9.6 billion by 2061, and our decline will start there because we have a declining birth rate. We already have the infrastructure for 9.1 billion, Chris. We will not reach 10 billion. There is no evidence towards it.
Yeah, but why is ideology have an effect on our educational system?
It's impossible to avoid that.
Yeah.
You can't say that British ideology does not influence British schools, and yet German ideology doesn't affect German schools. It is the very nature of tribes to have ideologies, and educating them in our way. I want my children...
Obviously, I know there's going to be, as I call, well, I should say, a massive effect on our educational system at the moment. Because obviously there's also going to be...
So you're thinking there's an overreaching ideology.
There's an overreach of ideology, because in the educational system, you need that ideology to create thought process and new ideas. But at the moment, it's gone...
beyond the chem.
It's gone the wrong direction, shall we say.
Mm.
Yeah. It should be a case of a natural progression, which challenges you so you can refine it, tweak it, and make it effective into the real world. And I'm going to say it again, wokeism is a massive example of
the collective ideology that comes under woke is what Chris is saying.
As taking it far off course than what it should be.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's a fact, obviously.
I do think the school and education system needs to be dragged away from the ideological left. It does. That conversation needs to be had.
To me, educational system will have influences from each side, but will always stay grounded, mostly central.
It should do. Yeah. Everything should be grounded central to safeguard all parts of society.
Yeah. So, in fact, you then have a good environment to challenge your ideals and everything else, make you question your ideology and your thought process, tweak it, adjust it, or as Charlie Kirk and everyone else has suggested, if it doesn't hold up in university, it isn't going to hold up in the real world. So you abandon it and find a new one. Yeah.
I think I don't want to sound morbid about this case, but I do think that, as sad and tragic that his death was, I think it is a lever that we can lean on to have an open conversation about how extreme ideologies harm society.
And use it as a pivot point to adjust.
And again, I wish his wife and his children the absolute best. I really do.
But it shouldn't come to...
It shouldn't come to the point of a man needing to die for us to actually start talking about how far the far left have gone in classes and schools. Because that conversation needs to be had now.
Yeah.
Because people are dying because of it.
There's no reason to turn around and teach younglings about gender fluidity. Gender fluidity. That is something they should...
learn as teenagers at best.
Learn as themselves, and then go to someone of experience when they're older. Yeah. Because in fact, when you're young, you should be learning how to do the basics. So read, write, maths.
No, when we're talking that age, some of the woke want them taught while they're still learning about movement and behavioural things.
No, you need...
do you know what I'm saying? That they want it in kindergarten fucking stuff. So, I know.
In kindergarten, you should be literally
learning just the human basics, movement,
pure human essentials.
Stay in society, friendly, don't bully people, normal fucking shit. Ideology should not be seeping in through anything under sixth form, in my opinion. All forms of ideology should be prevented before sixth form. But I guess that leaves us to the end of our podcast at podcast 13. As always, thank you for those of you who make it to the end with me and Chris. It's been a pleasure as always. It's a sad point that we've lost Charlie Kirk. I think that is going to be a historically weather-beating point, as Chris has said.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to affect us. We are probably going to talk about it again when it crops up. As always, I'm John, Sean, or Yahya.
I'm Chris. Hope you have a smashing day.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Your Voice, Your Nation. And we hope to see you at podcast